Tonight on Nightline, education in America and how it's lagging behind. In a recent study that was conducted throughout 65 countries, America placed 15th in reading, 23rd in science, and a measly 31st in math. The statistics report that America's test scores have been falling behind for years. So why is this the case? Why are schools in China and Denmark doing so much better than America's schools? To answer this question, I talked to John Singer, father of 3 American-schooled children, and asked him why he thinks foreign countries are so far ahead of the U.S. in the education race.
The reality is their school days are longer, there are more hours in the classroom for the students. And lastly, it's much more important for these kids. They see the opportunity, education is their opportunity. And their future really depends on them getting into a good school.
I then asked him what he thinks American schools are doing wrong.
Often communities try to save money by cutting on school spending. The thought there is that if they can make taxes lower, they make it an easier place to live. Mm-hmm. The fallacy, the error that's being made there is that in a community, for example, such as New Hope Soulbury, where a vast proportion of the people own their own home, the best thing they can do for the value of their home is to improve the school ranking. It's shown in study after study from every newspaper, every business article I've ever seen talks about how important that is. And so it's sort of short-sighted. You try to save a little money, but your primary asset for most people, their homes, don't go up as much money if the school doesn't go up in value.
So what about the government? What do you think? Are they doing enough? Are they not doing enough?
The idea that there should be some standards has been accepted, right? For years, the SATs are a way that we can measure, colleges measure students from different high schools. Because a kid who got the top kid in one high school may not be nearly as good as the 10th best child in another high school. The problem, of course, begins that the SAT is a very limited test.
Wanting to know more about John's opinion on America's teaching styles, I asked him about his opinion on rote memorization.
There's been a movement in this country against rote learning, and I actually think that in certain subjects, the subject that I'll focus on most is math, is that not having the math tables memorized is really limited.
As a final note, I asked John what he thinks should be done to get America a better education system.
I think first and foremost is spending on education, increase the spending on education. Unfortunately, people who are living in areas that don't have good schools, there's not a lot of, often these areas are poor areas, they don't have the money for it. So if there's a way to increase the money there, that would be good to help, more government money to help those schools. One possibility is to reduce, or to have some form of education over summer. Have classes where kids log in and they get to do classes over the summer. Because that 2.5 month period, for a lot of kids, there's 2.5 months when they're not doing math, when they're not reading, when they're not doing science. So having some kind of linked-in computer system, I think for a lot of kids would be a large value. And I think that as technology continues to drop in price, that could be done throughout the country.
Well, thank you for letting me interview you. It's been a pleasure.
Today, college graduation rates in America are only at 70%, and 1 out of 2 U.S. students don't finish their post-secondary education. Perhaps in the future this can change, and America can once again become a top education system.